Well, let's start with the fact that the seat is open. The incumbent isn't running, so I likely wouldn't run against an incumbent in for any office. But Keith King is retiring from public service, and he's had a long, distinguished career. So the seat was open, and I just thought it was a really good opportunity to jump in. Um, I have politics in my DNA because I come from a political family. I've never acted on it. I've never run for office before, but I have been involved serving on various committees and commissions and started organizations and whatnot that have worked with city government. And so it was time for me to do it. I also think that Mayor Southers needs all the help he can get. I'm a fan of his. We have some significant problems, mostly with our stormwater situation right now. And I believe the steps that he's taking are appropriate. And I would support him in that and do support him in that, and as well as the other things that he's trying to achieve as mayor.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, if elected, what are some things that you would like to change or that you would like to see through? You mentioned the stormwater project. Are there any other issues that are current right now that are important to you, or other issues that you'd like to bring to light if elected?
Well, my primary concern is always the health of the local economy, since our local government is funded primarily by sales taxes. We need to have a vibrant economy to have sufficient resources to pay our costs of our government, primarily our fire and our police. So that's the primary issue for me, making sure that our city government is not getting in the way with excessive regulation or slowing down uh, economic growth in any way. That's probably my biggest issue. One that I'll monitor, one that I'll work with the mayor and council to ensure that we're, we're good. Companies that want to grow that are already here and companies that may be looking to move here aren't going to move here or anywhere else if our government is not living within its means, if it's wasting resources. This is the nature of the beast these days, and I believe we run pretty lean, but it's something that you always have to monitor and be diligent with, and that fits with who I am and what I think is important.
Talk to me about your business experience a little bit. I was looking on your website. You've worn a number of hats. It looks like. Talk to me about your business experience. You mentioned that you have experience working with local city government. Just talk to me about that a little bit.
So I've pretty much been an entrepreneur my whole career, doing different things. I have worked for companies, but the kind of guy that I am, I like to call my own shots and be independent. So that has allowed me to do a number of different things, as you pointed out. Um, I started when I was in the oil and gas business after I graduated from college. Uh, we had some problems operating our oil wells for the company I worked for up around Greeley. This was a long time ago. This was in the early 80s. This is a very contentious issue now up north uh, with Longmont and Boulder and Greeley and all the other communities up there, how to integrate oil and gas production in and around those cities, because those cities have grown so much. Well, back then we had a situation that happened that was kind of catastrophic, and the city of Greeley wanted to regulate oil and gas operations. Well, God bless them, city councils don't not really qualified to regulate oil and gas operations because they don't know anything about them. We have what's called the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission in Colorado that regulates oil and gas operations. So I formed an organization. It was called the Denver-Julesburg Petroleum Association, the DJPA. It has morphed into what is today the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, which is the predominant oil and gas industry association in the state. And we started working with the Greeley City government and Weld County government, trying to educate them into oil and gas operations so that they would have a higher comfort level, mostly so that they would understand that they don't want to be a part of that. The risks are too high, the liability is too high. for them to do that, and we had a state agency that would do it. So that was kind of my start. Most recently, I started an organization called the City Committee back in 2010. The city was nearly bankrupt. We were taking trash cans out of the parks, turning off street lights, doing other ridiculous things to try and save money. None of those things saved any consequential money. But we put this group together. I put this group together with other business people to look at the city's finances. We built our own spreadsheets using their financial information so that we could look at that information and in ways that city staff was not providing to city council at that time, charting it and graphing it and things like that. And our results came up different than what city staff's results were. And so we analyzed that information, and then we counseled city council on what our beliefs were and how the city might be able to do better with the limited finances that it has. The city committee is still formed. It's inactive. I lost my home to the Waldo Canyon fire, and when that happened, it kind of we lost our leadership. Two of us who were involved with the committee went to work on rebuilding after the Waldo Canyon fire, and so that interrupted the city committee. But since our change to a strong mayor form of government, the pressure is not as strong as it was back then when we were still a city manager form of government. And I think the switch to a strong mayor has been very good. There's more accountability, and that's working well. So the city committee is probably an obsolete idea now.
How would you say that all of that experience, helps you in this political race?
Well, I think working with people is key. Collaborating is key. Sitting down in a respectful way and sharing your ideas about a problem, what your solutions might be, and then being quiet and listening to the other person talk, and being a good listener and take their ideas and try and find some common ground where you can move forward and actually move the needle a little bit. That's how we worked it with the city committee. That's how we did it in the late 70s when the Denver-Julesburg Petroleum Association was working. And so I know that way forward works. City council in recent years, not necessarily this one. I think there's a good relationship between the mayor and council. But, in these times, there's just so much contentiousness. I think our city and its leaders can really distinguish themselves if we work together and we collaborate. We may not always agree, but we can probably come to some kind of consensus where everybody gets a little of something that they need out of governing and policy making, and that's what I'm about.
Speaking of distinguishing yourselves, what sets you apart from your opponent, Richard Swarman?
I'm a lot younger. Sorry, Richard. No, I think as this campaign unfolds and people see what our answers are to these thousands of surveys that we've been filling out and interviews we're doing, Richard and I disagree on some things. We agree on other things. I think the difference is, Richard's been there. He served on city council for a term and a half before he left to go run Salazar's local office, senatorial office. So I'm kind of packaging myself as a fresh voice. Not that I'm a new voice, but I'm a fresh voice. Richard's been around a long time. He knows a lot, but I would say we know his voice. I think I bring some new ideas, a new perspective to problem solving that maybe he doesn't.
Is that part of a strong voice, your wisest choice?
Yeah, well, the first title was a strong voice. It's been changed to a fresh voice, so we didn't get that changed in time for the signs. But I think my perspective on things is a little fresher than maybe Scorman's, and he's more interested in And looking at what his priorities were in something that the Independent published recently, economic development and jobs, that was the last thing that he mentioned in his list. That's my first thing. To me, everything follows that. If we don't have a strong economy, if we don't have good jobs, our sales tax base goes down. It becomes difficult to deliver public services. It's just a tougher situation. To me, that's what I would work on the most, to make sure our government is running efficiently and we're doing whatever we can to not give reasons to businesses to stay away or not grow their businesses here. We need that, and we need that in a big way.
You've kind of already answered it in all of your answers, but for viewers watching tonight who maybe haven't heard of you or aren't familiar with you, what would you like to say to them? What would you like them to know about you?
Well, I'm a native of Colorado. I've been blessed to live here all my life, and that truly is a blessing. I've watched the Front Range change dramatically in my 62 years. Denver wasn't much bigger where I grew up than where Colorado Springs is now, and it kind of blows me away. So I would like to see Colorado Springs grow. I would like to see it grow back towards the core, but I think what people need to know about me is this job fits well with the type of person that I am. As I said earlier, I'm independent. City council is not a partisan office. While we may be registered Republicans and Democrats or unaffiliated, we don't have a party apparatus behind us to raise money or to influence our decisions. It's up to us to come up individually with those decisions. And I think given my business background and my volunteer background, trying to make a positive difference in the community and in people's lives, that you can't do that by yourself. You have to have support from places, from significant sources. And I'm glad that I do. But there's 9 people on council. You need 5 votes. So you have to play well with others. You have to be able to argue and persuade your colleagues. You have to horse trade a little bit. All of these play into my wheelhouse. I'm excited about doing it if I'm fortunate enough and blessed enough to be elected. And I know I would be good at it, and I know I would represent my constituents in District 3 to the best of my ability and to the benefit of the entire community.
Awesome. I know that April's still, well, it's not that far off, but between now and then, is there anything that you plan to do for your campaign to just get your name out there more, to try and, I guess, bolster more support?
Well, certainly, I'm not going to give away all our campaign secrets.
Things that people can mark the calendar for. I don't know if there's maybe events that you have planned or.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's going to be forums. I would say check the Gazette. We'll try and put them up.